So this is back after a long time. Okay, I just bought the new 0.8mm nozzle for my printer because I want to print in vase mode and I want to have a 2mm perimeter. That is a 2mm layer width. Yeah, so it is actually too thick. I don't know how good it is at touching each other. As you can see, there are little to no overlap on the brim, so I don't know if it serves any kind of point there. Also, my print bed is a little bit warped. I don't think I can show it very clearly on the camera. Yeah, but yeah, you should know that it is warped. It is a little bit lower in the center. But back to the topic. There are barely any speed improvement when I change from 0.4 to 0.8mm nozzle, because the limiting factor here is the hot end and look, I'm sorry, the flow rate. So with a 0.4mm nozzle, maybe 0.4, 0.5 layer width and 0.2mm layer height, the print head zip around really fast to compensate for it, and the Bamboo A1 actually does speed very well. So what happens if we expand the nozzle? So more filament have to flow out of it for taller layer height. This is the 0.4mm layer height. I don't know if you can see how thick. Yeah, that is how thick the layer height is. So double the layer height of normal of 0.2. That's just fact. So a very thick layer height with a thicker layer width, resulting in more flow, more filament have to flow through the nozzle, and the flow rate is kind of capped right now. You can see how fast this thing moves. I haven't ever seen this thing going this fast on my printer before, and it is absolutely gobbling up filament right now. This is the fastest I have seen the filament logo. It is just dishing out plastic to compensate for the extra material, and it also, as you can see, have to slow down by a lot to compensate for it, to let the flow rate catch up with it. Now, what are the advantages of a 0.8mm nozzle? If the flow rate is already capped at 0.4mm at the speed, with the speed that the Bamboo A1 can comfortably achieve. Well, first thing is vase mode. So you're printing with one perimeter, right? You can have thicker walls. This is actually, I think I have a nozzle right here. So this is a 0.4 focus with a bit of plastic on the top. Yeah, so this is the 0.4mm nozzle, and the tip of the nozzle is pretty narrow. You can see just at the tip. So because the tip, so imagine my fingers like this, right? This is a 0.2mm nozzle, and this is a 0.8mm nozzle. So like it have extra metal on the side of the nozzle that allow filament to be squished out, and I can squish down 2mm on this nozzle. So quite a lot of filament squish out while also achieving a higher layer height, which means less mechanical movement on the gantry. So I believe it is less wear, less noise on the X and Y axis because they don't have to do as many perimeters as before. This is a very structural part because it is holding that thing. So I am having one part, the neck over here. The problem is that is, some idiot, the kind of idiot that is recording this video, designed that and didn't account for the fan it is designing. Okay, so first thing is base mode. You don't have to do, you can achieve much thicker walls compared to the 0.4 millimeter nozzle. Of course you can squish down the 0.4 millimeter nozzle, but so does the 0.8, so you can squish down a lot more. And for a lot of structural part, I designed with I try to aim for a 2 millimeter perimeter wall. So because 1 millimeter is too thin, and 3 millimeter is a little bit overkill in my opinion. Not all my part need a 3 millimeter walls. So what does this mean with this nozzle? This means that when I design a wall in FreeCAD, I can just give it 2 millimeter walls, and the hot end will only took one pass, so like one mechanical movement to build a single layer, compared to, for example, if I have a 0.4 millimeter nozzle, right? So this thing will have to whip out like 0.4, 0.8, 1.2 millimeter thick, 1.6 millimeter thick, and then 2.0. So let's say 0.4, 0.8, 1.2, 1.6, 2.0. So like 5 perimeters. So like the hot end, so the tool head have to zip around 5 times, as compared to this thing zipping around only once. For the difference in print time, there is absolutely no difference. The A1 can go incredibly fast and complete the 5 perimeter in approximately the same time as the 0.8, because as I have said before, the flow rate is the problem for the 0.8 nozzle. But due to less mechanical bumping around, it has never been this quiet before. I even turned, oh my goodness, is it any problem there? I hope not. I really hope not. Okay, you can see there's a bit of a failure over there. Maybe I can zoom it in a little more. I don't know what the heck is that. Maybe some sort of failed overhang. I believe it is just failed overhang, because I have also disabled the cooling fan for this thing. It sounds absolutely insane, to be honest. So should I just so I believe I disabled the cooling fan because I read I saw a video about not having cooling fan for hot material like PETG improve the layer adhesion. So like hard plastic, touching hard plastic, and it can fuse together much better. That is just at least that's the logic behind it. But I do see some, it is like digging into the print in some area. I don't know if you can see it from that thing. So we are monitoring it in real time. That's how thick it is. and yeah, the extruder is spinning around, and the speed I have never expected before. So yeah, I believe I can tolerate the lower layer height, and basically the equivalent print speed with arguably less details on the corner, because I have to give out a much larger turning radius for the hot end now. But I can tolerate that as long as I can make the printer operate in a simpler manner, maybe. So yeah, with just a single movement of the hot end, I am able to get a perimeter. So that is pretty neat. I cannot wait to test the 0.8 nozzle with the transparent filament. I don't know if I can print glass grade object with it. Consider that the extrusion width is so much larger now. So I don't know how it will look when applying on the plane. I don't know why the number looks like that. Maybe because I perform flow rate calibration, so it overrides the value on my manual flow rate calibration test. I should look into like the overlapping walls, like how much the walls are overlapping. Yeah, currently I don't see any build up on the nozzle at the moment, but if you try to get it flat like that, you can see the bump over there. Yeah, I do see some sort of failed perimeter. If you look from this angle, it is much clearer. Yep, so it goes up halfway, and then there's some layer that fell and get pushed outside, causing that defects. But I designed this part with pretty loose clearance, so then it will have any problem fitting into the part at all. Yeah, but oh my goodness, yeah, the print quality is absolutely, oh my god, I think I have wasted my filament in that area. So it has completely failed on the inside area. I don't know if I should continue and try to get this part to stick, maybe lower it to 26 more minutes. Should I waste 26 minutes worth of filament on a part that has already failed? I want to see the operation. Yeah, so I see it is trying to put the filament there. Yeah, this thing feels like crayons. Feels like throwing money down the drain now. I don't think it is worth it to continue. So I'm gonna stop it. Oof, I believe I should tweak some settings now. maybe the amount of overlap wall, but that overhang performance is absolutely unacceptable. So I'm gonna tune a couple of parameters and get back with you later. So this thing is finally done. This is the failed print because I believe the overhang is broken because I didn't use the cooling fan. This one have the cooling fan. I enable the cooling fan again, but the top layer, as you can see, is pretty rough. The printer, instead of doing straight path, it just wiggle around to try to smooth out the top curve of the print, because this is actually a circular profile. I try to make it as circular as possible. So let's put it on. Finally, this thing is fixed. I can now open the drawer, and still got a much more comfortable angle. Before, it was just pointing around the 3D printer area before it, so not even pointing at me, but right now it is pointing at my chair, and I believe it can point at my desk, my bed, much more comfortable. Yeah, so that's about it. That's about how I use a 0.8 millimeter nozzle to improve on a design that doesn't require a lot of cosmetic appearances. You can see I print this thing in 0.2 millimeter layer height, and there is absolutely no reason to print it that low when you can just whip out a 2 millimeter layer line. Get this part, I believe it was in about the same time, but yeah, no need for that waiting. Everything can be done in a much more quiet manner. Although the top layer details on the 0.2 is still much better than on this thing. So a bit of a trade-off, but I believe I do have a bit of time saving with this part.